che innocent. Bra kwaba. Bibi aboko de.
Onyame adom.
Systems. Oh. Yeah. Regard for systems. In yemai muhano. Wahun dem cheno. When ya daji edweni abu, because we say in common and someone is all can because people have no regard for systems and our systems now kazakazano the way I fashion it out, and yet to say ya shed that per se this solve a problem. We just want it to be there. We want to get by. One who dem channel. And yet to say ya shisha systems, in such a way say ya who know how be a day swano. Just because I was saying your policies, policy intent. The entire cover policies, but need problems. Solutions are. I was said the banra. Many Dr. Osabutin, Dr. Frank entry at highest year, baby or Tiana, maybe so say. Government interventions are hodo. Ne, me find say youth programs need the kaka home from youth employment to youth start need the kaka home. They ain't pan ya say they receive millionaires. Ana adwuma bɛn na ɛwɔ Ghana ha obetimi aka sɛ ɛyɛ government intervention bi adawro manama sa adwuma no ɛwɔ hɔ. Wɔn deɛ mekyɛ no sɛ fraud and free youth employment, youth in agriculture, youth starts, NACO, whatever. Bah. Yeah, the solve problem bɛn potting. And a jago system no more keke so that the fight fire na ejanu duma kakra na ebu ya
and I think it's a very important topic and a very good observation and the ATN say man for a binti say yes because if you go to any democratic sector all you have to do is set up various institutions and structures to be in place. But as to whether these institutions, these systems will be effective or not, it's a different thing. So for instance, over Africa, culture, so democracy is very effective in Africa, it's working, most of the countries are very democratic. But you see, said the only democracy among four sunlight, beyond that, nothing works. So once this regard for institution systems will know any honintino, the sort of dividend our expect to say other countries like the US, other countries like UK, our monswafa the same democracy now to almost achieve, you will not. Because the weaknesses within a creative avenue for people to exploit for personal gains then as a forum. The last time I kind of baby said, you're very dangerous and greedy. And always there must be systems and structures in place about checkmate our dealings. So when these incentives and opportunities are manipa when you through human being, it doesn't matter whether the person is pope, they will collect to their evil best and take advantage of the situation. So the C systems and structures are there to be able to say they are filters at any point in time. You go through various stages. For instance, my contract at their mobi. Say when a particular sum amount, you need to go through public procurement authority. The procurement authority will also have to study the documents in it near my way and either some approval and I say my approval. But in recent times, these structures ideally, most of it are by a rubber stamp. And the sort of effective way I achieve you will not see it. And any can be and abuano and a and this obakaya. Abra Obama Baha saying, Assemble call catcher and say,
strong institutions,
not strong men. And it's true because structurally, when you have strong institutions, they're very effective. For instance, you have strong parliament, you have strong judiciary, you have the legislature, you have the court system. I mean, you're independent and very robust. Another day, Obia Yenajuma, and to an former. You are scared, say, won't be phone.
What do you think Obama meant when he said strong, because people misinterpreted. I don't think people got what he really meant. Because Ebinum Soka said, no, you need strong men because they're strong men and they make it strong institutions. What did he mean by not or the structure or how we form them? You talked about the independence
of various
those
institutions. Yeah, institutions and as a form enye kwaku anabna ni nyina ko bewie nipa so. So when human beings begin to guide these institutions with conviction and absolute within the legal prescription, you know, adia na enhyehyɛ ne dɔse yɛmfa nyɛ no nipa dasani ne bedi animu amayaye. So in as much as he's saying, say, strong institution, you know, the strong institution can only be interfaced by strong men with strong conviction. And
a strong men, no, with strong conviction, no, they don't drop from.
No.
They are made here.
Yes, they are made here.
So, and what makes them?
What makes that particular person, say, for instance, Nipano I find in a particular place. The person is not influenced by monetary or personal gains. The person, allegiance is strictly to the state and to ensure, say, the interest of the state at any point in time will be safeguarded and protected. And because free home, but he's looking at the generational gains and then the sort of dividends na personal interest. But who had the structure na many of the people who very often get opportunity, don't get there because of merit. And I say, because nipa ne deserve. They are there because of certain alliances, affiliation, and the sort of relationship be or with maybe the power that be. So it is on that basis, and you did to me in a manipa. Nasa madam for na yao. Nasa you are not appointing me on the basis of merit, but because you think so, madam for na ya event, but memfa we mana meba. My allegiance will not be to serve the people, but be to you, because I know the day you called me on because me awadamfo. So the sort of conviction, the sort of mental preparedness or expected from Nipan or the Bayer Jumana is not there because no, he doesn't see that he's serving a nation. He is there because he's serving a friend who has brought him on board. Okay.
It's like Lee Kuan Yew.
Okay.
Or say me build it third world. What I mean free third world. Abba a friend saying
first world model.
Na the me and say me ni bibia ana me kru no ankasa no kra no enhye da ni kroma kru fufuro bi mu fo ne abo mo no nti no de and say me use the say a friend superior intelligence. What them chena say nti wo adwuma no a me fa se brabe no mema ho aka de mema wo kotuapa ya adwuma no na ma me results o pa pe me fa ho nchew. What them chances? So there was some level of intentionality backed by conviction, and so many other things. Sustainability, what them chances? Consistency, and I would say he was there for a long time, and only the account to or yes, sad and so no, not down for no before Jumama. Wouldn't say you're rough out beko. What them say? And to that which we call the system, no. Yeah, democracy now, is it structured to be able to contain the system you are talking about?
Ideally, it's supposed to, but said deliberately no, on paper you see say but the reality is it's not part of it. And it's the reason why you see, said yes, every great nation be able who assassins be no come out of great ideas. I would be go the baseline structure, a bit so I'm what pay your mind see hono. So what designed the structure, which the physical framework, your president, your parliament, your court, the structure is there. But the next question is, how effective is this system in terms of their connectivity, just to ensure, say, the ultimate goal, achieve. So if you can't find those things, for instance, say, obi ye adia etia or minor, crime ben so na so punishing the panel. And what is the objective of that particular punishment? Is it to punish the person because or the other side? And now to establish a certain conventional red lines, to send a loud message to people out there, say, more minor consequences are until you will be guided wherever you are. And at that time, and now afraid na wokofa phone akofre or hini bi a winim no na nkopa chairman because the systems has been done in such a way say and give you room for those things. For instance, in America, when you jump red lines, and yet Madam for the minister been a friend, one kasana, it will not even occur to you. You understand? But Adam said we haven't been intentional about some of these things. Police in no chiwa or no slow because you say maybe you are connected to somebody powerful. And now opposition be a war because these systems are not there. And there are things that for us to achieve whatever objective, we must be very deliberate that we see use that particular word in our approach just to ensure say these systems must work. Because until said these systems whatever we do it will be like washing your feet about wash socks.
So making these systems work and pimping so it has got to do with say the least human interface. Don't you think so?
Yeah.
Because human interface, a DOS, a yanteswa. For instance, say, my port. Okay, say paperless. 100 much. Nipa binum sha say for so ya say paperless because omunim say omuntimi emfaso enye de also omoye. Apart from say Becca say ye de you can say auditors. Yes, from internal auditors. Internal auditors na idea o makwakotena ho. I nim say omo no mbe check ama bibia koso no. Nipa no a o check no ono na ma ni bibi di. The ebema internal auditor na function no. The obe sign sa de no a ebema internal auditor na ye adwuma no. Ono internal audit sa nipa no na be sign. Now one of them will be two man the abebono.
Yeah, you see, and America said, "Sir, we a structural problem and causes multiple factors and coming into some of these things because it is argued everywhere. Said in order to so to achieve effective government, excessive human discretion and excessive human interface, and so it will remove as early as possible. Because whenever you have individuals exercising those discretion, very often, personal way come in. One of favoritism then as a form a woman. So who design a system now? You design to do away with some of these things. That is why I say this excessive individual discretion must be substituted for institutional discretion and dictate. So institution, I want the objective. And the institutional objective prescribe what has to be done at any point in time. So when you have these layers of structures in place, for instance, or Bank of Ghana, now you want to take a certain policy direction. At the end of the day, the goal of Bank of Ghana maybe in the short term, long term, or medium term, and they determine the options that are available. It's not the BOG boss, but that's sort of free in the fear, but say, way. That will be his personal discretion. But when the institution I want the objective, now I said this direction institution and now want the guidelines the only thing that the BOG boss and the executive available number and say you supervise this particular process just to ensure that we achieve the objective for ADC and so. But make us say I am mess up. The institutional dictate and the institutional discretion, you are substituting for individual discretion and excessive human interface. And at the end of the day, most of the decisions is spearheaded by individuals at the behest of individual, your friends have personal emotions, the personal way, instead of or mind way, And at the end of the day, in the face of these excessive individual discretions, and near man go wrong, or be someone say, what is the punishment in the near my a best care will be a man exercise those your friends and discretion. For instance, we live in a country a political corruption. It's not just about so be about chrono. Even willfully, your friend is saying, so one man or minor lose sika. You can be punished for that because you are making allocation, which means even if all exercise discretion, not discretion is deemed unreasonable. Then so more minor lose bibia. You are supposed to. But look at the Auditor General report about one thing. look at the infractions, look at Niema Ekum. Now what's Tenasia Bisa and say, Memesha says a more year auditor general report. And you know, so why a morning show I check. Na ya de Niema Nina Gubu Kakraka near the Batu and him book no kaya wunwe, a fikrana wunye, no business Argentina from Rollins a pencil basin there. Yen to me who they need to take corrective measures. Yen jai macron no and see and sana ya the book about bonting.
Do you think we haven't seen that need, or we just don't want to disrupt the status quo? Yeah, because enkrofo omukuta sade no mo ho den chen ye pushing.
Yeah, who say some of these internal staff now who say yeah complain a business for some of the people within. It's an avenue where they make money. Then I say for them. So until say a certain external force we be pushing, there will be internal resistance against some of these things because there is no single department that will gonna hire any internal auditors. Now what we say I didn't know what tenants masa manusi or because whenever you are in a particular place, you become part of the system. And we normalize it and we move on. So that is why until yaba tenasia masanya manesisia we no de begubukum. I know the day what is the punitive consequences are assigned for people who are caught in the web of these financial misappropriation discrepancies are you don't see any effective this thing because auditor general report about one thing apart from you see a charge you be why no one who say what face jail and I say anything. So there is enough incentive for people to do some of these things and get away because it becomes a sort of an institutional norm. Enti see a person of mine move on anymore. Some of these nearman as any activity now you making sure say the system no ankasano will be allowed to work. Individual discretion, personal details in as a form will even though maybe around, but to a certain extent that ain't me affected the larger goal of the country. Trust me. Individuals will always have their way, and any system be individuals ever have their way. No, that particular objective of a minor and muscle because there is a competing interest. Individuals competing for their personal interest and the state also competing for a particular interest. But I'm saying, nipa no woman say pushing the interest of the state. Now, they are the same people pushing for their personal interest. You know, you see, say a mind about toba, and it's the reason why we have Africa. Yeah, you know, you say democracy, but look, we have all the tools. Now, no, I did some interesting research. Now, I catch a man for say, so we have countries around the world in terms of human resources. Africa is the richest in terms of your friend say human resources. We are the richest in terms of even land size. Africa is 3 times larger than Europe. Now, man for sunlight. So what I say? A DNA different. And Europe, UK for instance, aging of a and a gun engine. How a mindset. You understand? So the mindset you say. They understand, say, for them to achieve whatever BS or more achieve, they need to allow a system to work just to ensure that the system becomes effective and more powerful than individuals. It's the reason why a UK Prime Minister, they're not from a minor. And I'm saying institutions are powerful than or not as an individual, and he will see the need to resign. Bagana how the bena what says minister be a resign abra why the bonnet. It does because the person feel powerful and superior to the systems and the institution. So until we begin to elevate these institutions and systems and interface it with a certain punitive sanctions and nipa be who said may ya deal with ya consequences in here and my way to the consequences, there will be no intervention if set my bonnet and I say idea I go wrong. And until we do that, trust me. We will move anywhere, and I think that
just like you were saying on Krata.
Yes.
Minim say toda o chase bisa who say National Planning Development Commission or more den because you see. Nema ya tinasi ya kan air condition 3.0 me no ma fifeti na achi no. Senka omo as potent as they are supposed to be. Because the shots here from 1979, 1980, 1990, 1992. Meaning na tweak from 1997 by 1990 military government in 1980. They need say National Planning Commission ebeba na chire the development planning ebe shemu enom ye ya na yes share the entire more core values are. And what we are discussing: professionalism, excellence, integrity, honesty, teamwork, hard work. I will say, they shall advise the president on development planning policy and strategy. The commission shall, at the request of the president, and also so no, at the request of the president, now request here, forget. Parliament or its own initiative. They study and make strategic analysis of macroeconomic structural reform options. Make proposals for the development of multi-year rolling plans, taking into consideration the resource potential and comparative advantage of the different districts of Ghana. Make proposals for the protection of the natural and physical environment with a view of ensuring the development strategies and programs. Make proposals for ensuring the even development of districts and the Kahunina, monitor, evaluate, coordinate, and develop policies, programs, and projects. And that takes into all these things we are talking about. Ideally, Article, your friend is saying 86 and 87. Our NDPC anke wasn't NDPC Timifye na ASADM. This is best by a constitution. What's the mention? I say, yeah, what the can you know? Krata so no now come. Nina ewo. Why are we not making conscious efforts?
And then I may catch about competing interest. You see, political parties are looking at the short-term dividend. Because I have made a categorical promise to the people. So to Abamame. Me ba free SHS. Me ba we. These are short term we are. Metimi I cash political capital out of it. Na metimi jinasa ko campaign tem. So the person is not looking at the long term priorities and objective. Only bimpo. And this all help most often. The campaign promises a political party this, but you short term your financial interventions. I know the day because I have 4 years. May so that I'll be able to cash out. For instance, who's more year development or more year. Even you sit down way commissioning na the election year. That is why all the commissioning. So that tells you the broader agenda. If I take you back to the United States of America, now help come for some of your more politics. They've structured the system in such a way. Say we are president of the United States of America. Who overwhelming power? Probably the most powerful person on the planet. But you see, the systems now the machinery of American economy running on. You don't have much power to control it. And this is why I observe what American president power very often a foreign policy. It's the reason why today Donald Trump, even with that congressional approval, he's fighting Iran. Because they've done it in such a way, in the economy in layers. And very often there is bipartisan resolution on some of these things. Though political under Biden, there was a bipartisan resolution on infrastructure in America and a total overhaul. Over about 400 million.
They're very intentional.
Very intentional because they believe, say, America at some point in time is aging. The structures and as for they need to change. What I say, so the priorities are two. Political party may have nedia, but on mine is very deliberate. Or pursue a particular agenda. But that is not the case.
That is why I brought in National Development Planning Committee.
Yes.
The agenda you mentioned.
Yes.
They are supposed to set that agenda for Ghana.
Yes.
Say me to say, agenda 2020, agenda something. You say agenda 30 something. You set agenda no near candy at all. You mention politically near jadi at all. Sa agenda no be cry in Concoto. And also, and more year towards sa agenda no so crumpona and also so crown sign then anyhow. What would they channel? But they do these things because they think that Ghana for saying na yepe. They have sat down and in their mind, no more Trump up at the say and no na Ghana for yepe. So what can Ghana for do?
Who's that?
Because almost the entire omoye now omoye to abawi and no start prepare for the next election. No, because omunim say yen niaman kitten bi and here we are do the whole thing now. Yes, systemic then overhaul. No, President Mahama the reset. No, what would they make? No, these are some of the pushbacks. They are finding Ghana for say near pay no crosses sana ye pay san ye pay no ana.
Oh, unse nipa da sani bia unse immediate gratification they will be ape. Wade no wo ye no wanya ho nsunsanso but you to take nimdifo a odwene kwa akiri dwene konkan na wahu how feasible long term way ebetimi aye na anya lasting impact on our mind no. So for instance, so over the years, some of us have been advocating that the powers are your constitution granted to the president is so excessive and so overwhelming to the extent that yan shasia anketelina ebeduba bi no bedi yenya because when president why na dwen say on fa mranya adwuma o man no bebo. So this your friend is planning commission a constitutional way a creature and a constitutional creation but it will require a certain your friend say deliberate way be from the president to execute some of this agenda.
President
exactly.
Requested
so
and Parliamentary requested it is a National Planning Development Commission. Ewa dream be say we never Ghana. Na Parliament and requested, na President and requested. So why should that?
So you see, the framers might have considered a lot of stuff because sometimes financial consideration as for but where the tone, your politics and over the years are taking up. I so cynical to the stand say, kind of
what do you think about your technocrats? Because we see you can't politicians. There be any can't politicians, no. But if we are talking about Ghana systems, no, and any technocrats na make civil servants, no name we're friends here, or more baby or more no. Those are the systems, no. Systems now, yeah, can you add the microphone? And the people who are doing business with our systems, you know, mostly make per Auditor General's report. These are the people who do business with the cartel. Sa shisha wa omuye di omuye ni nyina no. Sa microphone and a cross omo eye, a dot a cross omo T, dot omo eyes no. What is the true. Enti, what do you think we can do as a people? Said ye beya, ye de bufu be free politicians so they are called system no so.
Yeah, who's a politician or a supervisory just to ensure, but said we see Canada actual people on the ground no, this technocrat. But very often they miss the debate. Nobody wakes up and talks about technical director BIA or GFR or Bank of Ghana. Always the appointee of the president because I said the backs stop with you. You understand? So that is why these heads, must also take corrective measures. For instance, there are accountants which are by a jumum, opay and dang affiliation on court. Your friend is a leave because or so or sorry or people what I say. So yeah, normalizes our like that is the way we've
normalized a lot of abnormalities,
and there is nothing external a pushy just to reset some of these things. That is why if
there should be something external that will push it, what should it be?
Oh, it should be
what should it be?
Monitoring, evaluation, and making sure that people now at any point
who
in
is
time
going to offer that service, some monitoring and evaluation.
Oh, it's available. Yeah, interfacing within our system. They are supposed to work. For instance, this auditing as for must be periodic. Occasionally, this report must come up, and internally, whoever that is in charge can also run some of these things just to check whatever that is happening.
So internal auditor a head of the department,
yes.
And the best signing in Niama, no be manage to function. Or no better that yes, I need
that is his job. That I make us you see say because
what I am saying is for that internal auditor to function properly.
Yes.
Obey here
tools and
their friends or the bayajuma from Nipanoa also or the tenor. You know, a better than a Nipana and power no, I'm not a tenor.
Oh,
why can't we have Obi from baby fufro?
No,
not necessarily the
the
remuneration will not be sorted out by the penny,
remuneration look at very often controlling it. But you see, they also have external auditors, and then very often end up way. But you see, the system is such that within some of these individuals, even though you are in the system, but you are supposed to. So all things being equal, so be a juma. I said, more high, muya juma, obiya sports, obiya way. Very often, muya juma, you walk around as but independently, no be a juma. So in a normal sense, that is how you're supposed to be. and it's there everywhere in the world. Within the FBI in the US, you know, are investigated by their own FBI people when something goes wrong. Somebody can go undercover, and then I also have police forward internal way. Some of these things. That is why when the person I want a conviction, or I just obey the right now, this question will not even come in.
Convictions, no, and your pania they won't nipa.
Yeah.
Convictions, no, and your pania they won't nipa. And in your earlier submission, you mentioned say uja nipa be selfish. What's the mention? I say, Anna me no. Minim say me conscience be catch them said yeah me and kwasiasem but no and mama duanidi. How about that?
Yeah, other consequences be
consequences be no so
and then mama duanidi na consequences wo ha.
So you've hit the nail right on the head. So how do we ensure that there are consequences?
That is why make us say when it comes to some of these things, prosecution, investigation must be swift, immediate, and it must be ongoing at any point in time. Now, your daily accountant to be a Bank of Ghana, your daily accountant to be what maybe a port, and what why it will send certain shivers down your spine.
Yeah, banking
sector clean up. Okay.
We be a regulations and regulatory whatever directorate.
Yes.
Our Bank of Ghana. Omajuma omoye, and they say. Sankofono anye de also omoye ma it had to take some 25 billion, say 25.5 billion to solve a 9 billion problem.
Yes, so that regulatory laxity is there when institutions begin to fold up and are supposed to be, and externally there is no pressure on them. For instance, it will interest you to know, say, a new bomb mine waker a state-owned enterprises.
Oh yes.
So the last time I spoke to one CEO and his argument was that Ivan we there young create say young find profit. Now I said there is no why you create say young find mocha. So if it is not for profit, then it must not for loss. What I say, all the state-owned enterprises are running at a loss because they are buying the. Because there is no external pressure, because there is a cultural norm, because your boka sana tie. So to anywhere all the state-owned enterprises na sana tie. But say the same entity in the Tama private sector, sana ebeye, because you will not be running at a loss because you are paying human beings. For I understand some of these agencies are very strategic. For instance, Bank of Ghana bet me atenase 1 year. Now I catch us who are boka over 60 billion. No bizarre say how did it happen? Ube kom no na kwabrani timi for my nisika de koto watch. Now my chama who gold watch. Yetimi koto iPhone ni a chama ya home. Yetimi to ya allowance over millions of when it's highly unreasonable. And these people are using the existing structures to execute this nonsense. You understand? So for me, I think the system is very effective and robust. They liberate various investigative agents. For instance, the concept of this special prosecutor, no, Nejuma say, or like a sniffing dog. You move in because that is. The US say, members away executive and answer assembly tour. Whenever I was on FBI drufie, every single document available, sister go box just to investigate you. You will not even get
to conform to Tunidin. Now, Fena and conform to Tunidin. Have a friend say it is because of this or that. And conform and to Tunidin. Who say whoever Bebaho say or Jackpao.
Yes.
So why or back for Ghana?
Yes.
It is not because only will be a problem. And yet will be no only what problem. Nemum said the bear Ghana beats me. I work. They understand it as such.
Oh yes.
So me on. Dear me person me busa passes here. That's some person me share passes here and say. Do you think say baby I was here no? Yenya that opportunity. Say and somewhere ye kan nyina no de ye hunu sesia from 2025 January 7 ebano. Do you think say we have been afforded the opportunity to right these wrongs we are talking about per your observation per what is going on any de no? Do you think say Ghana for ye my ho sa opportunity no they say they be righting wrongs now say at the dada one old gramophone player na channel. What is it? Pay your observation.
I think so ahomkeka a Ghana for the koto aba your friend saying 2024 na menim say monitor social media. You are very social media person, very active. Now share the anger among people. Ghana for as a nema many nipa. People got fed up with the existing system. So Ghana ni bien ho koto aba say the tradition should continue. Ghana need ya before koto aba say system na from Kwame Nkrumah pension ya sati si ho say ya de boy ho ban no serve a certain narrow parochial interest the larger interest of Ghana and serve. And over the years young people have been sitting from a distance they don't very often get involved in politics, but this time round you see clearly say obia abete politics as because of the new media, and they have started asking questions mu nyina te nema se so omo koto aba se be ya the existing status quo no ebesesa ama nema akọ so ntiza what da ben na ya to aba krom ha ama aban asesa na a new government aba do mahama ba yi amanfo mbo na chi because economy is bad, amanfo mbo na chi because maybe dollar no ontimi fa ma fam amanfo ebo na chi because nipa omo free so omo ya akromfo esa aban no ejeli omo no ontimi jeli omo. And that is the biggest pressure on the Mahama government today. So that tells you say the consumers of the Ghana politics and almost and this first na choboy or suno choboy or webiem, they want you to do the right thing. That alone, that signals alone, tells you say the grounds.
What should be done to sustain Sadian?
Yeah. So that what should be done is you see, that is what the last time I was telling you is that the Attorney General need to up his game and make sure that investigations will continue, because the energy of the people and the government must always be at par. So when Hena say energy drop it now the government will collapse.
But the Attorney General does not need to do press ups to keep up the energy. Oyusu Emra and the dear friend said.
Yes.
What do you think is amiss?
Who is a modern governance and I evolve to a point at first, and ne sabo some nipa kakra bi ko wura dem no mo ba omo no but now it is an open book kind of way. So at any point in time you need to keep the people in the whatever that is going. So we had Attorney General now, or Attorney General and Minister of Justice. The dual role and all play. So in as much as on you be a prosecutor nipa modo monsa abo man sikamo odibone the same person has a administrative role, and that administrative role requires engagement
to keep us posted.
Yes, because so whenever you create a vacuum, people will fill it, and whatever they fill it with, you can't control.
When he decided, say, what you're talking about, decided, say, keep here posted, and now sorry, press conferences,
who is that?
And these same people, will also say that you are not working or status or more updating because now me tie Felix Kwachofuso on key point 23. Ana Osha says obobo niema aban we nkrofo kan say nine no say chairman want to be a freezing account, the mobile money account don't mean send don't mean 5, and he started mentioning certain names nipa we didn't call so all count him say na or say be American go money mass. I'm just giving information to let people no, say actually things and yama koso. I say the wheel of justice grinds slowly. The destination and it eventually gets to the destination. One of them it is the Oka say the energy of the Attorney General and the expectation of the people should be at par. One of them the only way you be hunu and they say Obi be catch and say this is what we are doing.
Yes. And America, so you see, if you understand and appreciate modern governance, some of these things, ain't new to you. But because it's something we are not quite conversant with. The Obatians and the court, now you're China, Basao court, and no Kwana Mamfo. But governance, I evolve to a point. The very moment people begin to withdraw their trust and confidence from the government, and that government is dead. So always and always, you can never keep the people in the loop. So the ACBR, you need to update them. So for instance, Yoko say what this guy will be Ghana for a minor John Ebuno, Obuma Ghana for. So when are we just kind of free in how much is involved in us for, so that it will satisfy the sort of Nema Amanfo, because Amanfo Kotoaba having the impression say a certain criminal cartel took over their country and they stole from the nation. So these people, are they being held to account? if yes, the processes involved, you need to keep them, because you see, Ghana is not a legal environment to say, we must all wait and go to court. There is a political dimension to some of these things. So you need to sustain that trust by communicating through this sort of engagement for people to appreciate happenings.
And you said something before, said, and also see a very imperative. I said, the existing Bank of Ghana there, they are using the existing structure because the Omo Yansa to gold watch and it's a practice that bonibia. I will nip him say Nano Sofu be preacher say the just and the righteous. The just say the me yemin tum rebia, but the righteous won't say a womb send tum rebia nenso at your harbor. What's them saying? They are being just. What's the mention? And you know the Omoya say, "Sa existing structure." But say they can say some cartel be. Say you can say criminally, your friend is saying, criminally managed economy. Need the can the thing. Ube kumbe no. Na politician no chaka no womni kakrebi. The structure now, and the people who man the structure no. And no man who quite their course no course. It's one way you are expecting the Attorney General say, and who do when you see nipa ba could be so say, sa nipa way. I was say yenini. But the Attorney General so be shani no more be sure be who say who authorized this? Then I will go through. Then and a bank, you tell me creative bank account number. Banka yeneneka. Yes, you trace kadi amano.
Yes. So
I no. Obekom no. Politician no dia oye no. Aye be a supervision or ma oye nhwe ha. Ana oje kakra bi ema nipa bi ana wan pe bibia hwe okosan bibi. Enso so ne atwan but real akromfo no no mda so tim.
Oh yes, Ghana had be America. Corruption ye kan. The very people involved, most a civil servant and technocrat, or more embedded within the system. And there are people who are familiar with the system. Obi how at them 20 years. So they know all the routes no. So these people know sometimes it will interest you to know say CEO no bar. It is this technocrat who will teach him kind of sika. And the one we are strong now, you fall for those things. Then the tradition goes on. What are some American? So,
Anna, there is no way when you scratch.
Yes.
Crumbs, no, they more.
And I'm winning. I'm committing more. I don't know the day when I co-fight Yakobia money until some better than Honey a blow up because what we are seeking is not to recover, but we want the political capital. And in Nipana, Yachino. Political capital harness. We are targeting you because there is a political capital to harness. So Nipan or technocrat no woman no obia more mudin. And now case there are a lot of technocrat or more prosecutor or more. But the media be obedient that because the big fish is the politician or not coming with political capital. That also deals your mindset. What I say I say for so I think that these things you know.
Javan, what na say me na no me chwa na me kai President Kufuor by no. Proceed on leave no. Prior to retirement. Me trans ya adwen ho no. O ha na sana na o say.
Oh yes. You need
because you try radio so discuss here can say na ba no ya pam kofo because san krofo no.
Yes.
San krofo no.
It depends. When there is an actual way, there are evidence. You don't even need to ask the person to proceed on it.
In a chain, Auditor General's report.
So some of these things, it's not just about proceeding on leave, especially
Auditor General's report. The afibiano sikano balloon.
Yes, to Auditor General report, what you can do is to set charge. But in terms of the criminal aspect of it, must be prosecuted. Because the only way you can punish OB in this country is when a court of competent jurisdiction says so. So a very complex kind of scenario. But you can ask the person just to proceed on leave pending investigation. You understand? So at the end of the day, if the investigation and they up say a near way and a wire administratively in the way you can lay people off based on some of these things.
I don't know how it works, but Auditor General gather evidence no.
Yes.
That's all the prosecutor now.
Yes.
What rule no? Because we see it's been people have been requesting, and sometimes now you mentioned set charge.
Who's Attorney General
must have prosecutorial powers.
Because
me, I'm gather me evidence. No?
Yes.
And I understand the figures much more than the Attorney General.
Attorney General.
What's them general say? Maybe our Attorney General know all the technicalities. No, sorry, Attorney General no. All the technicalities. No, na obehena ade no anipa na disikani enya idea no. One them channel one to me and fa anya adwuma yentimi improve point enough.
No, when the prosecution is ongoing, the technical people who actually went to the ground, very often they call them as witnesses to provide details near my call. Attorney General is the only person that is armed with powers to prosecute some of these things. So when it comes to the technical details as to what actually happened, some of these auditors are very often called upon to provide these technical details.
Must it not be, and I say would it be an overkill? Say an Attorney General. My Auditor General must have a law background. A proper must be a lawyer.
Oh, so some do. It's more of your friend is saying accounting, that kind of numbers, statistics, and then as a form. So what we are, what put to face behind these numbers now by actual figures, then you look for the legal infractions. What I say, that is why the Attorney General will have to go through and review these numbers now and the supposed infraction, as against the law.
I'm imagining an Auditor General or science lawyer, my briefing, Ediama Attorney General, no more say, and they all agree.
Oh yeah,
that's why I was asking.
Yeah,
they all agree to say, "Come
Yeah. Oh, by even the current arrangement, once you're able to make sense out of the numbers, now what me actually say, I don't know, boy, say no, you don't need to be a lawyer to explain that to Attorney General. You understand? And once the Attorney General Nunya and us evaluating who said these are infractions within the context of a law, then they will have to proceed to go to court. But you see, when it comes to some of this legal journey now, it takes a long time. And a frustration in as a form, because in a criminal case, you need to prove beyond reasonable doubt to establish criminality against somebody. And yet, on the balance of probability, where papa no does chamber, you we no your friend saying the papa no ya way no. But here, you need to prove beyond every reasonable doubt, and the money is very complex.
Is there a way to compress the time by
why
young Katik?
Yeah, we can.
Because we have fast track court.
Yeah.
To say NDC opposition because on better tribunals.
Yes.
And I know you have to say omati.
Yeah, cabinet approval.
Approval.
Original way.
So what is happening?
So
say is it in ano me say am for binumusa say is it functional? Now, even former Auditor General was even asking, say, is that functional? Say because sa vim no de be campaign no. Any opepa no e de be adwuma no eya na no so alignment no nkoyi.
When setting up a court is an administrative body, you can't just wake up and say mate court. You need to go through processes because obekaya MPP did fast track high court by at some point in time Chachuchi Kata even challenged the legal validity of that particular way, and it was proven say any your friends say constitutional or legal backing be grounds be a whole lot. So in setting up some of these things, because it is an administrative process, you need to take time and pay attention to all technical details. Now what's at this particular court? You see, these pressures are coming because Ghana for pen because of the experiences they've had in the past. But as government, so some of these things, we also need to take your time. Sabaya, wadna woye no, ebeye long lasting. Nen kwa yese a immediate reaction to a certain anger. One yesa you make a mistake.
And perhaps you would want to understand the fears of the people because I may not babe to say na no the enibi. Oka. You hide behind administrative one. The Obi one say abesin.
Oh, at this point, I think the president understands the urgency of the situation because the last leg Ghana a democracy general so this John Mahama administration. You see, and like for the time, the craving kakusi okroma. But because we were getting to election time, people say, okay, let's
see what happens.
See what happened. So this particular way, a test. This government is a test too. No. The government has no other option. Failure cannot be part of this John Mahama administration. And I think that the president, he's aware. So you need to navigate these particular circumstances very carefully. Say, the energy and the anger of the people and go overboard. Because now no me catch you because South Sudan I say rebels say some of the rebels no be a medical doctor, be a professor or chirade, or be a outside a degree or not ekura etuo so a rebel. You ufi said damn na wabo. Yes, ufi said damn na wabo. On board damo. But system be a failing no. We lose trust in a certain system. We lose confidence. And now here around the year, unfortunately for us, Burkina Faso there is coup. Niger coup. Togo nina se fornum. Atwa ye ho ahia. Enti Ghana is not above some of these narrative among for right around us. So I think the president understands and appreciates all these things. And within this particular fold, and they say, guided near the end near my yes you're prosecuting young prosecuting and for me I think say near my way can post action we near we a whole consequences and actions na can you we must also be very deliberate na making sure say education must also turn a different turn. For instance, I have always advocated say baby ya build a generation be a yes, we can use caution, punishment, and as for to tame, to control them. But the new ones coming, we need to change the narrative and change the model. For instance, Ghana, your mind back one, I never quite pay attention to a school at the early stages. By how are you the model building nipa? Meaning growing up, what's it? Yes, nature argument. That kind of debate, it's a never-ending argument. But I can sit here and confidently tell you, sir, what mold nipa? The senior namasasi we so nature. Nature our control, but it's in our genes and limited. But nature and a determine. And the person in your future, a bit to me, a sinking in line with prosperity.
Pay attention to the impressionable age. No, exactly. Nurture the people at the impressionable age. It's no time about the pedagogy of addiction.
But go to your friends, your early stages. Nipa no be our cultural exams when your maths, when your English, the frustration. Na yede akraketwa afena ono ni tine bi nim ni social orientation, cultural orientation, even political everything. No, yede akwashe sa frustrated person and sa na old training. Oko America.
Now to the man America, ko Finland, a friend is saying Norway monum. Would you know one abe who say at SAP?
Yeah, there are some if you don't have PhD, you can't teach them. Yes, and you see.
No, nurturing no.
Very critical. Because Akrana, hono picky adibia, and what people don't know say nipa be criminal. I was asking way so it's through nature. There is this survey available. One day I will share with you. If you go to America, they sat down and America over about 1.2 million people are facing prison. More either the person is on parole, either wakwaba fe no corner na se for no more trans a day na yekoso e ma amanfo engage in sa na man ubekom no na enkra at the early stage omo no omo maame antena yed ne call what you call is it children's home or some of the
omo friend no
social system no mkoko shame no because akra no call at that early stage na nipa na nya ba they treat them as candidate and they are friend affection onibi morality yes sometimes there be omo kodan na say for cry a survivor of the fittest so akra no that is the environment grew guide no so for them
he was not nurtured.
Everything be obenya assassins he has to fight for it. And or the pia bontia na ukra de no nibia he will have to fight for it. So these things na who know started. There
are some things that be a ultimate share no on public platforms. No. Be an deliberate for certain group of people.
Yeah, I understand those. Yes, I understand that raise nuances.
The concentration alcohol. Now, onyes car instead say the investment, papa not they are touching, and not they are too fast car be, and I want them to know the.
Yeah, so but I'm just saying this just to give you a statistic. Say, see a person here deliberate. Now you nurture the next generation of young people to be who we want them to be. It must be deliberate, it must be intentional. Now you retool education, not also no, and serve the job market available.
This thing you are talking about, do you see any action or anything that is being done now? Yeah, I address what you're talking about.
Oh, I don't see any deliberate attempt. I think say I don't know. You can't go
who should one also taking it up?
No, I think you see that is why people have always been advocating for some thinking shop. Engage young people, solicit ideas, because you see. Policy, any serious country be or the policy be a policy you unplug from a vacuum. Policy, the problems are identified and you weave into the building blocks of whatever policy that you come up with. So you study a problem, you tease out the various solutions in as a form. So problem now was study and I would weave a policy intervention to address the same challenge. But as I'm American, so if the people don't see it as a problem, people don't even see across the nature or any
people. You are talking about the leadership.
Yeah, the leader. At the leadership, that must be a priority. Or mine, for instance, education.
Is it in their interest? Those people. If we are very frank with ourselves, is it in their interest? Say nipa ni bebiana.
And this is another thing. You see, it's not just about that. Curriculum, you design we interest group. So people are not looking at the local context. What our needs are. They here. Now you fan design yang kasa curriculum. Recently, me say as a religious and moral education, ye free school system actually abanas for. But these are critical thing. The moral fiber of a Ghanaian, you bet me a shape na yam krano. When I want to know shape and you kura bagia. But these are near F. Ghana in our society and where we want to be, is part of our system.
Then might stand out.
Exactly.
Society.
But certain interest, it doesn't serve it. So it means that you're no system like a designer, a pet. So we are just wondering.
This thing,
what I say.
This thinkers, they think because sometimes I don't know if I have to pay attention because by virtue of what I do, when him say, may I pay attention to a lot of things, and there may be nyankopon nankasa nim say we are interested in side and I know watch akusi a particular day bi so na osore na wani edi akiri sa nkrofo no anka wo say omo problems no omo kire kwan e be fa so e be weave no into blocks a bit me address your challenges no. Some of them binum to say omo nim kasa epe adehwe etese wo no ubehwe no na wate NGO woti NGO no a wano ubeda na se bia wa yese wo ma form think tank bi civil society organization bi obi a person odi bibi wura ye society no hu wano a den no approach you no or mausika then you do the person says
burden
what they me channel which says so and no nebe kanka no. And to who say you raise an argument unim say no pa nebe professor solution to the friend is no. But you got somebody or no dream pe the counter argument be and no nebe viral.
Yes, and you see that is a
have you made that observation?
That is a very good point. But you see state, and what the overwhelming power overriding any other interest. So as some American, if the state, our interest woman, and I'm saying our a certain overriding power until a back any other interest be will be from the periphery and it will not knock me off my feet. Because state say as we are man way can America, some of the saying defense contractors, then they will recruit you and give you say a defense contractor. Apart from us, you don't engage anybody because the state need your services. Continue to do this thing for us. We will pay you and we will provide you the services to do this. So the state must be very deliberate and intentional. But first of all, I say who they will pay. Now say who name they will pay. Because they who they open and they determine your objective. Objective be spell out what you need to do. And it's a who say training a problem. Yeah, free say we dey biara me ko ba binti daycare me de me back akwaja school bi hwan na e kire oba na de no wunnim as to whether said the person is even educated or educated why then won fa ho the intention is okoto ne ba na to atwene ba bi na ono da kwae na adwuma
Dua na nyina wie no
afi no control na enye what I say
control.
So the person will grow and feed into the same mindset na ye womi o mind no nya da age ababo no kro no na kwa me nkroma kra nye ne ye wo na ba ne ye. You see that kind of mindset and ye namu no obre. But I heard the vast resources available to us. Ye tenase ne say ye nema ya, trust me. Obie nu ha na ho be kire no mind wem.
Me say Dr. Boyson, David King Boyson, or AI consultant.
Okay.
Or my survey be, or the AI your friends. Or say there were more than 15 million decent, legitimate jobs.
Yeah.
Ghana has more than 15. They say a kind of job, and I say jobs that can also. And also employment. What's the
sustainable?
Sustainable. Not just jobs are for individuals. Jobs that can create job opportunities, employment opportunity, be creating job opportunities for people.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, I can't say, your human capital, human resource, natural resource. I mean, the money any.
Say and all the young people are going. Na me check it. Oko Germany, our median age is around 49. Which means that this is 45. Aging society. And there's Germany
more than one crown. Exactly. Reward them.
Yes. So you see, but Yahano, Oko Nigeria, birth rate over 6.1, 7.1, the highest the whole world. But go there and see poverty.
China, ehunyansa 10 in the
yes.
Because ohunu ni nipa dodo no say no and betimi aboa na economy nti yenko production na nipa no ankasa ebeje na afie de aye bibi na o madane no.
So if you pay attention to some of these staggering numbers and statistics and all bisa won say e dey na me so betumi de aye ko China hu say number no do so amanfo esere no and hu say me numbers we dey na metumi de aye they turn China into your friends economic hub. Production. Obia na we ya na say China ni ba kokora to bia say esika. What I say. So that is how I obetimi aye turn things around.
Yeah, so you ha na detected na your friend they share family planning.
And the last time Ghana make Ghana for mu to kwan ko UK say nursing. Do na anya adwuma hospital. Do you know what they do? Nursing home, care home
agencies.
And yeah, say there are a lot of Accra, for instance, Accra is an urban area. There are a lot of America for the way almost said them or mope baby and they have children who are willing to pay. Sir, your friend say care home. Government can construct about 4 or 5 big centers in Accra. You have people paying for it. For instance, Okwa Abrochira, Obi Kotena ho. Otiase no obepe atua de de beye na yie de be sie na ye bibia o people make that contribution into call retirement na otife no no nkwa na to a pay rent no wetu akwatena ho kopim so obewu ama ya ye ni bibia wie. There are young people who will be willing to work in some of these centers aside hospitals, you know. But and yet ya na say adwuma ni ha. The thing is say what as here adwen. Can't you create these kind of things? Individuals a create care home. Ghana and team create care home because there are nurses or mobile category, you know, and yet to work at the hospital. What job can we also give to these people? I know there are people willing to work.
Not that sometimes with Nancy and I'm doing only another natural resource and I go on there my Africa. Intimi enhunu find solve your problem. Intimi problems. When you say investors no mo ba no they who say problems no mo say opportunities
yes
well on them channel enti your problems enti no obi to say Japan etna say no who say baller a Ghana problem and he became a millionaire out of that. What's them channel? How many of us and I said to say oh mine how many times and how kwan ben so na yetimi atna say adwen ho say to say the China atna say car say mahunu me how na me may say no krano be at 20 next 10 years me create 20 millionaires me more hoarding minim say san crofo no be a me many 20 millionaires now so create no e be o investing in be 200 people but onim say be at 10% pe and obetimi anya one pa ba By there na kwa intervention bi a stop gap. Ye wie na sa manfo bo mu nsema ya na ekọ. Na ye gya ne saa na ye tetetete. Oh dem chen. Kwan ban na e wo se yetimi encourage ye ho ana se yetimi pressure aban ana lead duty bearers. Mo turning problems be no into opportunities.
Yes, I think sir, you see, said that no, it's about which priority and that's about pursue. And I think sir, there must be a radical shift from this short term. Your friend is saying political dividend are very often you pursue what in your frame. Now you're beginning to think long term. Or mind be a why you was as you started with long term goals.
Yes.
Because no short term goal in a building of mind.
And there were templates, almost they said templates. What is that Omampani? No, can't say I was very excited. I said, Obe making sure say a bear ding ama obi obeba be dinner de bi say obe sesa niema o de be go akwam no. What to them say? But I can't say no. Me the eba me trim ni say there must be, and if this word has not been overused this afternoon, a certain intentionality. Say obema amanfo no omo pe bibi hunu no ebe ya aligned. Na sa template no ye be bo ho ban. So that if you come, and I don't know if it must be emra na wo say ye should be ye NDPC ye kan ho asemi ye be man some mandate ni asesa ne ma binom na ye be making sure say it will be more difficult for you not to do than tell obey.
Yeah, it's true. It's true because, and I think sir, I like it when John Mahama started up by a kwanya. Even President Akufo-Addo penso mo sha ase nyina no. Nka first na nka very often ye be jam na guo. Example Sagleme Okokumasi asa 39 or 37 hospital yaka nwuram ne na sefo ne min. Aka to say sa sika we nyina your man sika. So why would anybody come when we say governance is a continuum? Na the kwabra ne be kasa nya me na me ye nti magya gu and say. You see, that pressure must emanate from we the people. Na yan kan say chale o man no nya osika o. Eye yan kasa ye sika. Ade na wo ye it will benefit the people. Enti whether say a several political interest or not, because it's for us, you need to do it. Aside the legal, your friend saying framework, for ya weave protected this infrastructure, there must be this internal way from the people making sure say these things are done. Now you're making sure say teams, or minus that long-term objective. Are feasible? Are you across the political divide? No, you better say in the next 10 years, this is the plan. And that engagement, must also consider other political parties as well, because this is a long-term objective. Within 20 years, one political party cannot be in power for 20 years. So when you are deliberating on some of these things, such engagement, you need to get involved other people. I'm not just talking about politicians, but technocrats, other people, or more there. And those are the likelihood that Nipana can also be at the helm of affairs, because elsewhere it happens.
Should be used to involve other political
elements. I think platforms
Parliament?
No, not
because
Parliament.
Because say the time maybe say Parliament say there is a idea na your fan say a told amount for force and kayensi san okra. The number of people are abambia ba oyi omo as ministers ne pa kon oyi omo free. Constitutionally, more than 50% of, and I don't know if it is a convention
from Parliament.
Is it a constitutional?
Yeah, it's
a
convention.
Provision. Okay, so let's just say political party biano. Then crop for ye betimi use omo any omo adwen akoben kromo abua Ghana no omo Parliament. I mean. A friend saying, you say, yeah, fan said the entire be at the agreeing behind the entire ministers, no for every parliament. Say, no, near they can. But these are the people, constituencies, I catch by vote. Actually, say, these are the people who want to represent us. And the MPP for our more person, or more represented, or more, and more members of parliament. And to be a yenusu yen committees our parliament and find yes idea we say if we agree What am I saying? Say this is because we a leader, leader of government business. We a minister of government business. Need the kaka majority leader. No. Yen tenase ni anya adwin say. Ade we ni aye adwin say. Emfie du ye pese ye. Enti say ye sha ase ni ye na even table no ten ne kra no a. Ade a ya boss apo no parliament that nti ye nto aso.
I think sir, you see Ghana democracy is the weakest link Ghana your parliament is the weakest link, because ideally that is how it's supposed to be, representation of the people. But over the years, Parliament has become an extension of political party offices. People go there to argue partisan interests, not the audio of my BCE. And I'm sure so I follow parliamentary debate. Sometimes you watch TV and you become so disappointed. You understand? So the mindset na kasana man for the house no and your mindset to progress or mine, but it's to progress political party, political interest.
A whip system.
Exactly. You bet me so you benya power. There are power and bet me control. What I say. So when it comes to some of these development,
why is and sorry for because we have a very important point, but we Mamisa and we have not me refer. Why is the partisan interest different from the interest of the people?
Yes,
sir. Why shouldn't, because the party a percent or budget power no what will help the people. Yes. And think my interest, even if it is partisan, must be an interest. About what the people. So why are they not aligned? The partisan interest and the interest of the people. Do you get my question?
I get it. You see, very often most of the partisan interests, yes, they are also aligned with the interest of the people. For instance, because me creating new mama, me creating new mama more. A new man, Ghana, new man on Baba. But the objective and a problem. The objective very often, and I'm saying the objective is to win the next election. Everything must be done within a certain frame. You bet me you should the next campaign. And my catcher says, "I need man some build your mind to build a nation like ours." You hear heap of web transformer. You need to put all the necessary structures in place. Most of it a long term. So that long term decision I bind the begu akwamuna 10 years time the super banfaso no. Why then the acquire campaign?
So Minfan say the partisan interest of NDC by way of said you see Tuaba in 2024 no. It is more or less the interest of the people, because that is what we endorse.
Yeah.
The interest of the people, more largely the abide with person, the interest of the people.
Yes.
What would they mention? And to say Sadia, Nase, to say the kind earlier no. Ya bato no ekoto no 2024 no. Because ni anya happy about what is happening. Nase abide with demonstrate. Na yetimi hunu say. You bet me the want to abide so. What did they mention? I say, no demonstrating ye, who say the entire to abamo, no more into interest near interest. Some people should get punished for not aligning with that interest.
Oh, was it punishment?
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because and I make I say, and the your friend is saying, the watchword yes, if they are say demonstrate say
you'll do the right
indeed thing. What they promised us. That is what they are doing. Yes. Nase obi fufrobia kase nya no no wase ya. I was say hunu sa nipa no say we traitor.
Yes, sir. That is why you need.
But if you don't do it, not say there or no opposition no can also make it sense. Nasa unso so apaka ewo unyama uyemu a you should also be punished.
Yes,
do you get what I'm saying?
So when the people a certain understanding about what they need.
Now it looks like the people have understanding of what they need.
Yes.
Because of how we voted.
Yes.
So it looks like a large number of the people have the understanding. We really know what we want. Until now, most of the time, because a political class, we have to be careful because only there
Oh yes,
But him they want
and I make us say young people today, are largely very enlightened. They understand and they can differentiate deception from what the reality is.
Absolutely.
And the first, what me can say, who be ada anadwen by no sa nneema na sesa onim their interest and onim their partisan interest. And as long as a government decide to do the right thing, so even if the other people decide that they will do propaganda, that propaganda will not fly because now the people have come to understand, they know the objective or more epe, and they've realized that a senke is in line.
Yeah.
So very often you see say a buying best at DB, there will be a pushback from other side. Instead of the people to be angry with the government, they will rather be angry with those pushing from the other side. What I say? Actually, say, you better do a stage. People actually know what they want. So we a government now, you commit to doing the right thing. You might not even need time to explain to the people because once you are doing, they see that the same way over your offer. They can
the
see
people will then go and back the minority to bring you back on track.
Or you go on social media, say Adibi cautioning people think that it's not right. You see, as if say there will be this your friends immediate invocation also, and when it is right, the people. So we a government you need to read in between these lines and appreciate the current reality. Say, ye ni 1990 BM, and ye need your friends at 2000 BMA, yet the car and as a for congress, and because of the new media, people understand they hear the uncle school that cry and obey me lecture on what governance is. You understand? So, and it's so easy today to do comparative analysis. Or Tanaha unim the cost to America, unim the cost to UK, Ninu be whole year Juma, unim the onya. So when they begin to ask these critical questions and Amoki Kanin in Abomna and Sisiswa, then they know say something is wrong and that thing must be fixed. You understand? So I think say Sanyama way best shaping ye. But the ultimate way now, a best speedy transformation, will come from great ideas. I be go a long-term plans. Yeah, can't say in the next 10 years, we want to go industrial. So every region Biano will have about 7 or 4 factories based on feasibility studies. Who say this raw material are available over the years. Ya talk cocoa, ya said in your ship was that come aquabrane. Yentimi fanya de bia ono so nim se wanto a yentimi fanya hwenti enye ye na ye de prices to so ono mo na be ka yo beto no ba ya tena se ahu se cocoa no de ye to no ya the 400,000 metric tons ya de we na ya ship in a finished good. You know say you create employment and know the day no you also get value from what you are selling. You understand?
2 things I want us to look at.
Okay.
One, from the organizations here. As a president in by 2030, that's about 4 years from and I was a BBA, ye bia, a good year to know, or my mubiano. I was a yetimi, a sankamu, and sana, a diaquaman on it. What did them channel say? On Wama timeline, Wama target. So we should be monitoring. Say, say, Sadia noa, or Kayano. Yehuna na mombia O2 at the Fahuana. Rather than pitching NPP and NDC, no. I was say you use Sadia no. Now I was say ye timi monitor. Ye teta president, I mean government, no say. Sasamu Okan no one among na most of the questions I'm say, do we see so that even if Sobia doing say or tutum the J in Sambokaka, Oba say Sasamu Okan no. Ye hunu said that is the way to go. Entinu ye bedi na chi na ya bonichidom amanaya. And another thing.
Okay.
Another thing. They determine the thinking of the people. Largely the discussions are also on the new media. What did them say? Or more power no. And so enim sadi ya yekan. So over here army ya share that training certain people. So because we in the shaping the thinking and on the man determine the thinking of the people no we are also training crofobia sasa crofo no enko ye sade no na dominate enko that algorithm no ema manfo adwen yom ema enye te se de this is what the people think that must also be watched, don't you think so?
Oh yes. So first one, what the president factories ne your friends say ye be add value no ade ba ko a eno na over the years we've been calling for.
Yeah.
So ade na watu no ha no will add value to it and will create employment opportunity.
Yeah.
And adding value will also increase the price. So the whole cotton, you see clearly say, and adding value, but see me as under near my for instance, gold board, so I started jewelry, and as for also more tombing and as for adding value, price now would be better no higher than say I will turn a raw way, no. So maximize it or profit and as for. So if that is the objective, I see any so as a mine. That is why, apart from the state working towards it, there must be critical watchdogs like the media. Occasionally, whenever you get opportunity, you question the president. I said, "We now can ye? He find a do na enquire say akwaya dada asem na say president so yeah, he will be able to furnish you with details as to where we are and what the plans are. Na ye di because in modern governance, amamuo no enye one way traffic, a two-way. President the citizenry through the various watchdog, because it is your job to amplify the concerns of the people. By the virtue so we are within the media,
Absolutely.
it is your job to come and amplify these concerns. So whenever you liaise with government, be able to checkmate the government about way, but very often you be a quenya cry to my central for some maybe president asema. President atade o hye na mo
for attention
then as for them ye bisa question president na obegina ho na bebo na baso na baso bo na opa nkofrɛ
party people.
So you see we need to appreciate these things that we are also part of the governance we na no enye obi business ye nyina ye business and even those outside the frame of government kura no ye na ye the critical voice e betimi a shape da bia meka say we are the sentinels ye destined to protect this infrastructure of democracy and liberty ayewo. See, always, these people must be there. And when it comes to propaganda, and with this propaganda on social media, man for trying. You see, some of these political propaganda over the years and and even if you go outside, it is always there. But my culture say the best way to distill it is to arm the people with what the actual information is. There be last minute school for be shared and I mean or more engaged and make culture almost say whenever you are in charge of something, that's a will leave a vacuum. That vacuum will be filled with something. It could be cynicism, it could be propaganda, and you cannot blame people failing it because you created a vacuum. For instance, Kwaku also Jay is a popular person in Accra. What's a winning Facebook account? So somebody will go and use your name to create a Facebook account or the amount for because you have created what? A vacuum. But yeah, that's how original one will be is verified. People will be able to differentiate yours from the fake ones. What I say. So in governance, you don't create a vacuum. That is why there must be constant engagement to educate the people.
I think this brings me to ask you whether I don't know. Yesterday something swept me off my feet and. Longman say enra government president ne secretary no ne krata no trend. I don't know if you have seen that write up. Callistus Mama ne write up explaining the ways, and I don't know if it's yesterday.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I copiously referred to it and made some statements. I got some flags being there, but I know it's allowed. Say he made me feel. I say you see structure and assembly. Say the people are talking about it because they need information. Sankrofono. Almost say sebi. Omadi amen or mokakanse and to know information now sometimes to the extent or go deeper to give us just a better view of discussions that go on backroom and sign a presidential travels nowadays. And sometimes some things that the president says whenever they are talking about things like that. Maybe I trim or one in his write up no kind. You can let it slide. But he felt that the people are talking about it because they need some information from it. The clarity. What would they mention? So me there, and my mother me say, I said, why ye a dear beer a chese obu nipa.
Yeah. And that is what governance is supposed to be. You see, he's shown maturity. He spoke with a tone amenable to the concerns of the people, and he also or interface the concerns of Ghana for Eka, one brushing aside, and he appreciates it's genuine because yet your mind all things being equal. I was saying, come on, you want a jet. I don't know so would to coin. And non confirm myself could you be jet and also could you be. But you see, there is a certain immediate problem, that problem they say. The armed force at the official report about since the current Falcon not worthy, and that is on record. And no security person will allow a president to board your friends a jet a flagging is and airworthy. Ebasa is a suicide mission. I wouldn't call. Then that leaves out fewer options. The option is that you bet me a Toby. That is an option we have. You bet me a fly commercial. You bet me, and this other option available. But people need to also understand that President Day to he goes with a team.
Yeah.
Sometimes huge, sometimes small. And these people no be who fly free. You have to pay for everything. It's a runway, take it in as a forum. And the interim, the word is in the interim, there is an availability which you can fuel and use for free. For me, considering where we are coming from and the cost over the years, over the years, and the fact is that the main agenda of the bar is to reset. That is to be disciplined in terms of spending on minor resources. People may have concerns, say, using the brother in the way, but that against the cost justification, when you do the mathematics, definitely within that context, you can justify it. And there are people who argue, say, okay, nearby, said, I'll sign. Your friend saying an appointee is a Mobian Kwaje gift. I brought 20,000 Ghana citizens as a forum. This particular thing and a gift to an individual. It's a gift to the state because President to the private way no to the state. So the jet is a gift to the state, not to the president as an individual. And then the potential conflict of interest can also be argued as to whether because of this there has been any undue privileges that has been extended to his brother because wakwaje the jet. What I say? But you see, these are the new political sentiments are likely to evolve for discussion. And some of these things are not sure how we are mature in our democracy. We can subject everything to critical scrutiny. So then bring back to the questions at this point in time do we have the capacity to go for a jet? Can we buy? Is it a necessity? Should the president continue to fly a private one? And answer or on your way?
And again, it is also an opportunity for us to review how we talk about certain things.
Yeah. Because yes. Sometimes you need to see clarity and better information about some of these things.
Because you see, before NDC won power, there are certain people kind of saying, look, Foreign Affairs Minister Kahon, Deputy Defense Minister Kahon, the things they said about the same your friend is saying jet now saying airworthy, the things they said about your friend saying the same jet now saying airworthy, a can't who be na man crophobinum and ya no more candy or more candy.
But I think the scenario at the time, wasn't about the Falcon not being airworthy. Because at the time, I think what the mistaken fact is that people are worried about the amount of money that the president was using to hire a jet, 18,000 per hour. At the time, the economy was in hellhole. At the time, IMF declared bankrupt. COVID, post-COVID, Ghana is the second country in the sub-region to declare, your friend saying, to default in your debt obligations. So that shows that we were in a crisis. And at the time, not far Juma. Because the Maoporia at the time, who was a president at the time, because there is no way the Liberian armed forces were going to clear it for a president in Yusu. So the reason wasn't because it wasn't airworthy, but because Ghana for we're talking about
logically, somebody will also say, all of a sudden, not airworthy now.
President Mahama, I think he used a couple of times. until I think they develop a technical way, what they call France. So France repaired that, and at this armed force, your friends at this particular report by say, and yeah, airworthy, you understand? And the word and yeah, airworthy, makes it suicidal for anybody to board.
So what I'm saying now, let's say, people who has more cassetia, the acquisition of a presidential jet. I mean, I say a jet for Ghana Armed Forces, and now but one for the presidential travels. No, one with them channel. They should be very circumspect because I'm sure another day will come and we'll be talking about this, and then a bit Daniel will say, say, if we need to do it, if it is for the state, for the state now,
as long as a president it's for this particular falcon, I think president.
And I think what explanation the difference between the Encrofor can say a friend said the difference was a Samreno, now say Ebia Gabia Sarochidako, our presidential jet, and an Ankanana Unanado, Mobono de Manoa. Ebian can come on a very different.
You see me?
Now, Odema at a low cost, I give you very different. 0200 854 255. Yeah, I can search it if you want to so. And for me, dear Emmetum.